Rolling.
Okay.
What happened? We had a monitor, so we could like see what's going on.
I'm kind of worried I'm
Fucked up already.
Can you get up really quick and see if I'm in the frame?
Yes. Professionally tuned in here to look.
Okay.
Do we just start?
Yeah, I think you should just start. Yeah.
All right, I start. Okay. Oh my god. Okay. Action. Welcome to two girls talking over each other, which is what this will end up being for sure. So me and Bree.
Yeah, and then I'm just kidding. So what are we doing?
So we're gonna be talking about her. Not Hereditary, we're gonna be talking about Midsommar. Yeah, it's an interesting movie to talk about, but it's also really difficult to kind of draw a conclusion. There's a lot to unpack, and it's also really hard not to compare it to Hereditary, which we will probably do as well. So to start off, I have watched a few reviews of it already, because we're kind of late on the game, but
yeah,
whatever.
We're just kind of making this for fun, but we'll see.
No, we're professionals. We need that ad revenue. And one thing that stuck out is a lot of people thought it was slow and a little bit boring. And people said that about Hereditary. I personally didn't think Hereditary was slow at all. I thought, you know, if you were invested in kind of finding the breadcrumbs and putting things together, it was great. And I also like horror movies that build like that.
I think Hereditary is an interesting film in comparison with Midsommar because they're both like art horror films. Like Claire was just saying, Hereditary is that kind of film where afterwards, if you're actually really invested in it, you take some time to put things together. And that's kind of part of the viewing experience.
Right.
But I think the main question, which we'll get into later, is also like, first of all, how much in films should you have to do that? And is Midsommar too much of that? Because I think from what we've been watching and reading that Midsommar has a lot of things that are very unexplained. This one, it seems a little more complicated to actually try to connect everything.
See, I actually thought it was less complicated. Well, there were unexplained pieces, but I didn't think they were pieces of some grand puzzle. I just thought they were unexplained. Like, they didn't tie into anything else in the movie. They were just, this is unexplained, and then this section's unexplained.
Well, that's my point. I felt like since Midsommar, yeah, we weren't questioning the grand scheme of it all. We were questioning just like little things in the movie, like why is his leg in the garden?
Maybe what I'm saying is just I prefer the way Hereditary did it better.
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying.
But let's start off with some good things. A lot of people, or at least one reviewer, saying that they didn't really relate to the characters, and I can understand that when talking about the really douchey guys. I think they did a great job at playing dicks, especially your boyfriend Christian.
Oh, he's so cute. Oh my god.
He's so annoying though. He's such a dick.
So cute. He's such like an annoying face.
Well, he has such like a kind of like football, like patriot, crack open a beer kind of attractiveness. Like all American, you know, like square jaw, like perfect features kind of thing.
Wait, sorry. Who are we talking about?
The dicky boyfriend.
I hated the boyfriend.
Yeah, I know. That's who I'm talking about.
I thought you said your boyfriend to me.
It's supposed to be your boyfriend.
Christian. And I was like, I thought you were saying like, oh, you think he's cute.
Oh,
no. I did not think he was cute at all, so I take back what I said. I was talking about, I forget his name, the skinnier one that's from Bandersnatch. The one
eyebrows.
Yeah, I think he also played his character really well. I mean, he was a smaller part, but like I told you, like the little moment where he was walking through the grass and he was just like treading through it. Like
each of the guys played their roles well. You know, like the John.
I thought his name was Tobias.
Was it Tobias?
We probably should have looked up the name.
We didn't. We're prepared. I think they're wrong in the sense that they didn't find the girl relatable, and actually that was what made the movie not seem that slow to me, because yeah, it takes a very long time for you to start seeing gore and start seeing horror. Like a lot of it is set up and build up, but I was so invested in the girl character that I felt like a big part of the movie was following her story, not just following the story of the cult.
I thought she was a fantastic actress.
She was a great actress. She was amazing. I think they did a good job at showing her anxiety. Like, you understand that she's already mentally disturbed, then she becomes more fucked up, and then putting her into this scary cult situation. Like, you're kind of waiting to see how that plays out for her, not only physically, but emotionally. So, solely because of her, I was invested.
Yeah.
And I didn't find it too slow.
I felt some moments were slow. Part of that was because I was coming from Hereditary. after a certain point, which was fairly early on, I felt like things started to move pretty quickly and there was a pretty clear plot as to where it was going.
Mm-hmm. The imagery was incredible. The cinematography of the movie was incredible.
Yeah. A24 shoots a lot of their stuff on like 35 millimeter and like just so organic looking and colorful, and it's a treat for your eyes in the least. You know, even if you hated it, like there's no arguing that it is beautifully done.
And it was enjoyable to watch, like don't get me wrong, it was enjoyable.
Yeah, oh my god, I really, really enjoyed it. But that goes back to it being difficult to say whether I liked it or not.
I think it's almost a disadvantage as a viewer to have seen the original Wicker Man, which I believe came out in the 1970s. Not the Nicolas Cage one, but the plot was so similar, and it actually did pan out really similar to the Wicker Man. I think that kind of took away from like the scariness of it. I think you can have a movie that's not necessarily a horror movie, but it's more just like a cinematic experience or whatever. But Hereditary scared me. There were very little jump scares, if any. It really scared you through tone. It got you really emotionally attached to all the characters.
It was disturbing.
It was very disturbing emotionally. Like it wasn't just like gore. It was emotionally and physically like disturbing.
Yeah.
Like, I felt for the characters.
This one was actually, now that you bring that up, this one, Midsommar, was less emotionally disturbing. It was just visual disturbance. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and that just gets to me.
Spoiler alerts. Can we get into it now?
Yeah, let's just get
into it. Like the suicide scene, for example, that was just visually disturbing, but we didn't know the characters, so it wasn't emotionally disturbing. I'd say the only thing emotionally disturbing was like her family's death.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And like her reaction to it.
You could tell Ari Aster just loves like wailing and crying. Same thing in Hereditary when she
family trauma.
Seriously, like what did he go through? The strange thing about the Johnsons, same thing, like this wailing and like this sobbing.
And even with the suicide scene, like that was actually one of my favorite parts in the movie because I liked that kind of pivotal moment where it's like, okay, things aren't okay now. Yeah. That's what I really liked about it. But then once you pass by that point, it's kind of hard to shock you again. Right. Like I didn't feel disturbed by the fact that they ripped up that guy's lungs and stuff like that. It was disturbing to see. Yeah. And the idea of that is disturbing. The fact that he was still alive and his freaking lungs were still inflated.
But we also weren't attached to him as a character. We didn't really know anything about him except that he was like a student from London.
I think another thing is that there wasn't that element of danger to it. I didn't feel the tension of them being in danger. Right?
Maybe that was part of it though, because like, you know, at that certain pivotal point towards the end when like she is basically before she's crowned May Queen, when she takes that, she takes whatever that was, shrooms or acid. That's the point where like they're going through a lot of the weirdest parts of the movie. Like a lot of it they're uncomfortable and they're not okay, but none of them are like, I need to get out of here necessarily because they're tripping. So I almost feel like maybe that's kind of the point.
Comparing it to Hereditary, that's kind of what I was missing, because like the deaths didn't feel like deaths to me. I didn't feel them. I was disturbed by the imagery, but I wasn't disturbed by like the whole concept of it.
I personally think that like people got killed off fairly quickly. The first disappearance of the guy from Bandersnatch, the guy that was doing his thesis on the Midsommar practices, between his death and then, Will Poulter's death and Mark's death, it was such a short window of time. They just kind of like both were missing. And then like no one else was, you're right, like no one else was looking for them or really freaking out about it.
Again, beautiful to watch, and I think it was written very well and shot very well and things like that. It just didn't grip me as much as Hereditary did, or as The Wicker Man did. I wanted to speak about the humor aspect of it. I'm all for humor in a horror movie, I am. Like, I thought Get Out did a really great job with it. And there were times in this movie that I thought that worked really well, but there were other times where instead of being creepy, it just was borderline ridiculous for me.
The orgy scene was really cool. I thought it was really, really cool, but there were some things I felt were too much. Like when the old lady pushed his button, like she didn't need to do that. I don't think it was meant to be funny though.
Well then, isn't that worse?
I think it was just meant to be weird. Like I think it was just meant to be weird.
For me, it just kind of took away. Like it started.
Like, I think it lost its meaning and stuff. But I fucking enjoyed watching that scene because I was like, this is so weird and ridiculous. Like what is happening right now? You know.
I'm not disturbed by seeing like a bunch of naked women standing in a circle, because I've seen that before.
Not disturbing, you're right.
It's not disturbing. It's interesting to watch. It didn't grip me.
Yeah. When she saw it.
Yeah, that was
like that was sad and disturbing actually. When she looked and saw it, because imagine you're tripping balls and you see your boyfriend in a huge orgy circle fucking like a 15-year-old girl. You know what I mean? Like it was just, that's disturbing. And I think there were definitely moments that like really, really got me. Compared to Hereditary, they're not as disturbing.
Right. I kind of wish the cult members were like less weird to begin with, because I think it would have made the act's a little bit more disturbing.
I also think the fact that like, now that I'm just thinking about this, a lot of their like killing doesn't make sense to me almost. I understand that their whole thing is that like, instead of being afraid of death, you're combining life and death together, and you're choosing how to like embrace it. But like, why was everything so gory? Why would a cult like that is all about peace and love and, you know, accepting death and accepting fate, are they choosing these super intricate, you know, over the top ways to execute someone? It's cool, but it doesn't make sense to me. Like the lung thing, like why would they do that? Why don't they just take a life? Mm-hmm.
But see, The Wicker Man had no gore. And there's only really one violent act, and it was very similar to Midsommar. They strapped him to like a big wooden structure and they lit it on fire. That disturbed me more than any of the deaths in Midsommar. It disturbed you without ripping someone's lungs out.
Right.
You know what I mean? It
was kind of interesting because there wasn't, the only time we got the build up where we were thinking, okay, the main character, she's actually like super uncomfortable right now and she's realizing like she needs to get out of here, was really when that guy, you know, left without his girlfriend.
That part I actually found disturbing because I felt for the girlfriend. Like that kind of mystery, like that I found really disturbing. I found that more disturbing than the deaths.
Cool if they like, if they had, you know, started with that and then it became more of a build-up where everyone's kind of like, okay, something really fucking weird is happening. And like, we shouldn't believe what everyone's been telling us, you know? So like, it gets to the point where she's like, I need to get out of here. And then she kind of gets roped in and then starts tripping and she's just like forgotten about that. Like that makes more sense.
I liked how they kind of took this anxious, emotionally vulnerable girl and kind of gave her a family. So like that was her arc and her journey made more sense to me. I liked how she smiled and she was kind of like, yeah, burn in hell, you dick.
Yeah.
Like, you know, very interesting imagery, very interesting ways of killing people and things like that, but, you know, not nearly disturbing or as impactful as Hereditary, in my opinion. Maybe the movie's genius and we just don't know.
Yeah.
But, like,
that's kind of part of
that's part of its problem, though. Just the masterpiece behind, like, all this symbolism of, like, the rituals and stuff. Does it matter at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Like, I think it does. I'm just saying that, is it for the best, I guess?
Right. And also, just before we wrap it up, we have to bring up what was his name? The guy born of incest. That was
right. See, like the fact that we forgot about that says something.
Here's the thing, like I can venture as to what he might mean because he was disabled. He was unclouded, right?
Yeah. But just because it makes sense doesn't mean he can just like randomly pop up and then just
can I say something really quick?
Be there to have a fucked up face.
That's a lot of the things with this. Like the tree, for example. Like it makes sense, but it's also like, but what? Why? Like it was so disconnected.
That's the thing about Midsommar, though. It's just another weird thing to get your attention. It's just another disturbing thing.
Turned so angry. No, I really like the movie, but
we do. Here it was just like weird thing here, weird face, blood,
right,
tree,
and like we were saying, I keep reiterating it, but I'm happy we came to that conclusion. You could make sense of the things that we were seeing, but they still did not necessarily connect to the moment or the overall plot, and like
it wasn't as powerful
in an impactful way that really was like, okay, this is there for a very good reason. Also, I need to pee, so if we want to wrap up.
That's why this ending, not because it's 45 minutes long, but Bree has to pee. We might make another one of these in the future for the two people that are watching.
Your mom and my dad.
So, my mom and your dad.
And they also just, we only have 2 dislikes and it's both them.
We're gonna get 0 views and 1,000 dislikes. That's what you said.
That's how bad our content is.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard being a YouTuber. I don't know if I can commit to this lifestyle, but
I mean, aren't all YouTubers' first videos kind of cringy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I like discussion, and I love discussion threads. Please comment below if you're actually watching this as to what you think about the movie, what you think about our opinions.
Tell us how wrong we are.
This is a free flow of thought, so I might have said some shit that is completely wrong and I won't believe tomorrow.
I thought that during this video. Like, I would say something and
I'd be like, and I'd be like, that's not true.
Yeah. So I'm Claire, this is Bree. We do plan on making more videos. Some will be movie reviews. We might do like other stuff as well. Like, we just love analyzing things, like reacting to things and kind of sharing our
There's not that many female movie reviewers. There's not that many anxious, ADHD,
ENFP.
Annoying.
Annoying. Thanks for watching, I guess.
Alright, well,
we'll be back. Let us know in the millions of comments what you want us to talk about next.
Signing off. Bye, guys.
Bye.